Good morning, everybody. GM. Welcome to Takeoff Tuesday. Exciting times. Got to pump it up. Don't you know? Yeah. All right. So we got some clarity on the comp plan from yesterday's conversation. I know we left a little cliffhanger. So we will address that and get the answers. It was one minor detail. Not a big deal. We got it. And now numbers add up. So yeah, we had a fantastic day yesterday. Pat call, very exciting what we got going on with the E3. It's going to be a packed house. So, how are your invitations going? Are you getting the word out? Remember, you can attend on Zoom nationwide, have your guests attend as well. So, with a coordinated effort, we could have thousands and thousands of people seeing our product, our offer, our system, our community, and that they decide to join us. And then deciding to join us will make you and your friends a lot of money. All right, where the heck is my? There we go. All right, so one other resource I was reminded we have that a bunch of new people haven't checked out or taken advantage of is a training called Straight Line Persuasion. So we have it in the Google Drive. So it's going to look like this. I'll put the link in the chat right now. Boop, 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 boop. Yep, there we go. All right, so take Google Drive. It's a 10 chapter training, digital version of the workbook, and actually a photocopy. It's amazing. But take this training. It'll help you on the phone. It'll help you in person. It'll help you with goal setting, with success visions. It's amazing, this training here, Straight Line Persuasion. So check that out. And GM to all of you who just joined. There's a training link. Yeah, go through that. It's going to be great. Awesome. So I also want to give a big shout out to Bill for the Invest Edge yesterday. It was kind of a mix up because it wasn't Bob and Jay, but it was Matt and Mitch. And so new studio, new hosts, and then Bill came out and just crushed it. And I realized why I don't like fix and flips because of what he was covering on the training. So it gives you some great language for when you're talking to people and they're like, well, I don't want to do real estate. It's not fix and flips. That's the thing. I know that's what they make the TV shows about, but it's the development. It's following a template that an architect puts together. So I now have 3 development projects happening of various sizes. I got a half acre, a 1 acre, and a 5 acre project. And that'll keep me busy between hanging out with you guys, training, doing the Renatus sales, and these 3 deals. My plate is full, but I love it because it's going to make an impact. These are going to be legacy properties that'll be in the family for a long time. So on your way to creating your legacy portfolio and you're just doing deals for the practice, the profit, be thinking about what properties do you want your family to inherit. And I think that takes some consideration because, well, how often do we end up buying properties from people who inherited stuff they don't want or don't know how to hold? The inheritance the probate courts, stuff like that, the family didn't plan succession and they lost the asset, or they dumped it, they sold it, whatever. Didn't necessarily lose it, but they didn't understand what they were holding, what their family worked for, and they turned it into cash. That cash is nice for a minute, but not to hold. Right? It decays at 7% a year. So anyway, how are you guys going with your real estate? What do you need help with? How are you integrating that into your marketing so that while you're talking to the appraiser, you're talking to the inspector, you're talking to the designers, that they all know what you do and how you could benefit from a program. We often talk about this, but sometimes people don't connect it. You can get paid to build your power team. Everybody knows they need a power team in real estate. Is your attorney taking the trainings, taking the classes? Is your attorney a real estate investor, or does he or she just know real estate law? Right? Same with your insurance agents, your contractors. Something I like about Mike Villa and what he's doing with building his power team is almost everybody's now a Renatus student in his world. And yeah, the concept is get paid to build your power team instead of pay to build your power team. So anyway, GM to you, Tim, Josh, Jasmine, great to see you. Abby, what's that, Abby? A. Gibson. I read that too fast. Celeste, great to see you. Heidi, Doug, Ada, Mike, Mehelani, all of you beautiful people. So yeah, what are you looking forward to? What are your projects? Are you doing your promotions the way that a boss would, that a CEO would? Don't keep it a secret. Real estate's too powerful to keep it a secret. Okay, one other thing that we've been going through in our next challenge, which I thought was super helpful that we could just talk about real quick this morning, is what we call the audio business card. So I'm going to just share this real quick, and then we'll get into it with Mr. Bill Predebon. The audio business card gives you such clarity when you're talking to people, because how often do you say, I'm in real estate, and then they think you're a real estate agent, or you say, I'm in real estate, and they think that you're a construction worker, or that you work with property management. And most people, because we're on this side of the aisle, we get that real estate means real estate investing. But 99% of people, when they hear real estate, think realtor. So you got to be much clearer about who you are, what you do, what benefits you offer, so that they can say, that's for me, or I know someone that's for. So it's this formula right here. It's I plus action verb plus target market plus benefit, so they can, plus emotional benefit. And then you must end it with a question to get the person's brain geared towards an answer. If you don't end it with a question, you're going to get cool story, bro. And you don't want cool story, bro. You want, what is that? How do I get it? Tell me more. So if you just say, I do real estate, no one knows what you're talking about. But if you say, I equip overworked and underpaid employees with the knowledge to buy cash producing assets so they can invest their precious time into their family and relationships. That wouldn't interest you, would it? And what we were doing last night with our next challengers was rehearsing this like crazy, refining it, making it clear, making it attractive, making it so that people know either that they want to be your client or they can bring you clients. but customize it, make it to you. We have, like for example, Alinda loves motorcycles. She's in a motorcycle gang. She hangs out with people who do all kinds of motorcycle life. So why couldn't she say, I teach motorcycle enthusiasts how to turn their hobby into a tax write-off through real estate so they can continue to explore open roads and have adventures across America. That wouldn't interest you, would it? And so one of the homework assignments was to make 5 different ones. You'll have some that will be geared toward marketing, some geared towards your real estate business. But this formula right here has been designed to slip past any walls, that people put up around, or resistance that people put up, so that you can get right to the point. This is not necessarily an elevator pitch, although it could act as that. It's really more conversational than anything. Like, hey, Eric, you know that I love teaching single parents how to build a real estate portfolio so they can be the best parents possible and never worry about money again. Would you like to see how that works? Or I show new homeowners how to pay off their house quickly without going on the rice and beans diet so they can live a debt-free life. Would you like to see how that works? Or that wouldn't interest you, would it? So if something's coming to your mind right now, go ahead and put it in the chat. Or if you want to come off the mute and we can refine it. I know Ben Creelman did a fantastic job refining his from the training yesterday. Yeah, same with a bunch of them. So anyway, if you're ever standing there and then someone says, well, what do you do? And you go, bah, real estate. You've missed the opportunity. Okay. I always imagine standing at the gas station. There's a little bit of a line, right? Someone's getting something, and then we're just happy, smiley people, right? So someone turns around and says, hey, how's it going? What do you do? Oh, I'm just loving life. Well, what do I do? Well, I help people escape the matrix through real estate investing so they can actually live their best life ever. And people are going to go, what? What is that? Say, well, I'd love to show you all about it, but I'm kind of pressed for time right now. How about you give me your email address, or we exchange phone numbers, and then I'll show you. And if it's for you, great. If it's not for you, great too. But I really think you'd like what you see. And you become this magnet, this attraction that everyone wants to follow. What are you doing? How are you doing it? So anyway, we had such a fun time last night with that I wanted to quickly cover that at a high level with you guys today. If you ever find yourself fumbling for words, go back, rehearse this, make this part of your habits in your language everywhere you go. I help overworked and underpaid employees become real estate millionaires so they can take back their existence and not die like a punk. Would that interest you? That wouldn't interest you, would it? That's great. The audio business card, the ABC. Sweet. All right. Well, GM, Deborah, Steve, Jim. All right. Last thing to show is the day. And then Billy the Bulldog. Yeah, I got a lot of great feedback about the Invest Edge. So if you guys missed it yesterday, go back and look. All right. Right, quick go. Teachers open the door, but you must enter by yourself. Teachers open the door. Bill will open the door for you, but you got to enter it yourself. Snyder will open the door for you. Mr. Chris Albin will open the door for you. We have some amazing people in our community. By the way, I just like to point out that some of our next challengers are in the top 10. So I know Ben is, Alinda, Vivian is also part of our challenge group. So anyway, it's working. Congrats to all you guys. The door has been opened. All right, so Tim just dropped his audio business card. He says, I turned striving realtors into real estate investors so they can make all their wildest dreams come true. Sweet. Yeah, only credit to that, Tim. It's ended with a question. Would you like to see how that works? That wouldn't interest you, would it? Do you know anyone who wants to do that? And end it with a question. Because the way our brains are geared is it has to answer a question. Our brains have to. It's the heat-seeking missile, like hardwired into the way our brains work. Questions must be answered. So the quality of the question determines the quality of the answer, and the people who use questions control the conversation. The people who answer questions are the followers in the conversation. So become a good asker. Also, I think there was something about like how to get anything. The formula is ask, right? There's something about knocking on doors and they open, searching for things and you find them, and then asking for stuff and receiving. If anyone's got the exact quote, drop it in the chat. Obviously, it's a very simple formula. So you got to ask. You got to ask for your capital. You got to ask for the deal. You got to ask for your clients. You got to ask for your partners. You got to ask for the discount with the suppliers. You got to ask. All right, there, he edited it. That wouldn't interest you, would it? Bingo. Well done, Tim. Now go out there and talk to those 11 million realtors out in the country and help them. All right, perfect. So let's get into this. Takeoff Tuesday. Takeoff Tuesday. So we have been, this is something you want to brag to your new clients and customers about. We have been doing this call for 10 years straight. And Mr. Bill Predebon has been a part of this for 9 years. I remember and just being kind of on the sidelines, crushing it quietly on the side. And then one day he put his hand in the air and said, I think I can contribute a lot more to this community than I'm currently doing. And I thought, wow, what a guy. Because not everybody wants to contribute. Some people just want to take in and then bounce, but not Bill. And so throughout the years, he has developed a lot of systems. He's helped so many people solve problems, negotiate, get them out of hot water, prevent lawsuits, solve challenges, diffuse, anger issues between people. He's a fantastic interpreter, but he doesn't let people cross any sort of lines. You hear these crazy horror stories about tenants and people trying to damage this and that and try to get away with something, but not Bill. He does it with class. He does it with tact. He follows the law to the T. He knows where to push the boundaries, but he also knows where to do it with love and kindness and generosity, and the way that he conducts himself in life and business. Whenever I go out with him, go to restaurants or we just go out somewhere, people automatically flock to him. There's something that he's doing to make friends and bring people into his life. And he's been a great example of taking himself from the bottom of the financial rung barely making $1,000 a month to making 50, 60, $70,000 a month and being worth millions. So we're very proud of him. We're very grateful for him to be here, share his knowledge and problem solving abilities. So let's give a big warm welcome to Mr. Bill Predebon, GM.
Good morning, brother. That's quite the
Yeah, good
intro.
morning to you.
We should
How
do
was
this
your experience
again.
on the call last night with the corporate team?
Say that again.
How was your experience last night? What was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. Hey everybody. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it was exciting. We had some so they put in a brand new desk. They got a brand new studio. So Aaron was running around trying to hook everything up and get it all ready. But Matt and Mitch filled in, and those guys are awesome. You know what I mean? They're just down to earth and just they're well and educated, well informed, well experienced. So it was an easy conversation. But we had a good time. I mean, I prepared thanks to you. A little advice that you or suggestions and advice that you gave me actually worked out. I did a little research and knowing what I know, tied in a few conversations I had over this past week back in Phoenix.
So now you're kind of like a celebrity.
What's that?
Now you're like a celebrity.
Right? Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was good. It was a good invest edge. Yeah, it was more of a back and forth conversation. All three of us, adding to the conversation, bringing value, and having a good talk about. And the whole goal is to generate interest in Renatus and what we're all doing, and I think we tied that in really well without overstepping it. So yeah.
Right. There's always that fine line of compliance and telling people how much money we make, but without like enticing them. But yeah, I think you guys did a fantastic job.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a really nice text you sent me. I appreciate that. What's up? So, I was thinking about the comp plan, and I'm gonna say this, and you're gonna have to monitor me. Where is the girl here that you were sharing it with?
Zen is her name. And no, I don't see her on the call right
Yeah,
now.
she's not here. She's missing out. Um, it's interesting, and this is probably looking at most of the people on this line. This is probably, you're welcome to pitch in because most of the people online have a pretty good experience with the comp plan already. In fact, from what I can tell, everybody does. My, it is nice, and I was just thinking about it, and I think it's important that we understand. Like, I'm shocked people don't know it more, but not new people or newer people, but just you know, even though they are an ICM, it's not something they spend much time. I think once you can get it, you pretty much know it. Unless, like, yesterday we had to kind of go through some detail that uh isn't as common when you're getting paid. Especially most of us that get 5-star qualified and we really don't have a team member below us making a sale until we're 5-star. So there's usually not people in between. That doesn't happen as often. Usually it's I make a sale, I make direct sales, I get through my 5-star. I'm usually just paying a 5-star. And even if I'm not, I don't even have that knowledge that they have someone in between us. You know what I mean? That brought me in. You know what I mean? Brought me in, and then I'm paying them only partial. I don't even know that they're not 5-star, if that makes sense, because I'm new. But my point is that the majority of us, I believe, and I have 60 people on my team, or had at one point, and when we were rolling 68 or something like that, I've made almost 600,000 with the compensation plan, and the majority, what's interesting is we come in and we're excited about something new. And ignorance on fire, as you've always heard, is definitely better than knowledge on ice, right? And I don't know if better is the right word, but it has more weight, carries more weight. It has more influence because there's so much innocence there, right? There's no pressure to sell. They're just sharing information. They're sharing experiences. And when I say they, us, new people coming into Renatus. And it's funny. So, they're learning new techniques, uh, new interesting financial tools, all the classes, and so they just talk to people. And typically, it's warm market. Typically, that's what we all talk about. It's friends, family, and a few people with the right sphere of influence. Right, most of us that get 5 star through that that realm. Right, unless for whatever reason we tend to come into Renatus. I will tell you, some of the folks that have been with me for a long time, they came into Renatus with the idea that they've been in an MLM before. They checked, they reached out to their family before. They've done this before. They got a bad, and it's all in their mind. Like even if their mother, sister, brother, daughter, whatever it is just sick of them, nobody's gonna like not like them because they have another idea, right? And it might actually land this time, but they just ignore it. So they, for 8, 10, 12 months, they're trying to cold market. No one's calling them. They're not paying for advertising. They're not getting qualified leads, and they're dealing with, no offense, deadbeats, right? There is the 1 in 100 that out of a cold call is going to come in and, like you, Michael, off a sign or me and buy it, right? And not need a bunch of hand holding and shit like that. And we're just going to do it. But you don't find a Mitch Nelson and a Michael Huggins and a John O'Neill like you guys did and a Nate Lambert all in a freaking row. Like that's an anomaly, right? It's just not a thing. And so, um, Richard Stock he should just jump up and down all day long. You know what I mean? Like he's been a very fortunate, blessed individual with some of the, if he was in a regular MLM, man, he'd have 3 really strong legs if he placed you guys in the right. Like it would be sick. And it's obviously paid off. But anyway, my point is that, what is my point? Where am I going with this? I think for new people, people just get re-engaging with the comp plan. People that haven't been 5 star, people that are brand new and looking at it. The idea is that the way that our comp plan works, it from a majority, and this is where we're going to need to monitor me, right? In my experience, I should say, and I can't speak for the whole company, but I can speak for some of the people that I know throughout the territory, is that we make money through word of mouth. And most of us don't have a big business, and we didn't come in here and go, I'm going to be a top 10 income earner. I'm going to, not that we don't say that, but our actions don't necessarily follow our words, right? And so we're there mentally. We haven't overcome the fact that we're there for real estate, but we have this compensation plan available to us. So we say that we want to do the compensation plan. Most of us come in and we're trying to do real estate, and we're getting into our first deal. We're meeting people that we're partnering with, we're lending money, whatever it is, and we're starting to study the classes, hopefully. And that's when we're able to talk to people. And there's and those people witness and experience and feel the excitement, the newness, the possibility. And all of a sudden, these people, you'll witness it in Idaho and Utah, in my opinion, a lot. People will join you and follow your vision. They will get enrolled in what you're doing because they want to experience it too. And then all those people get 5 starred, and you make that what you would consider, what's the better word for it, Michael, than pass up sales, but your direct sales from your team directly paying you while you're help training them to be 5 star. Most of us don't have this downline of, it takes years, the founding pack members, yeah, the overflow, right? The founding pack members and a few people that aren't even active were in a position, and the growth was exponential. Now, what's cool is Renatus is going to grow again. We're going to have a growth spurt, right? We're going to have a period where, we expand. And for everybody else that is 5 star, if you're a part of that, you're going to experience overflow. You're going to experience overrides. You're going to experience people that you don't even know making sales, and you're getting paid, right? But the majority of us are interested in real estate. We're starting to study, and we um, and we and we join the ICM because we want instant money. We notice that other people are doing it. We're surrounded in groups where wait a minute, there's this 5-star thing, there's this ICM thing, we're really here for real estate. We start to realize it. And naturally, you start talking to people. You're not even an ICM, and you're starting to get feedback that people are interested in. Tell me what you're doing. You know what I mean? Just based on your enthusiasm, your change in personality, your posting on Facebook, whatever it is. And and then we get into real estate. The cool thing is that as long as we stay in touch with the the compensation plan, as long as we stay in touch with the opportunity that when we invite people, even if they don't, and Dane, goes way in depth on this, even if they don't join us, it creates a relationship that is real estate based, and our real estate will grow, and we can still make direct sales and get in the top 10 and get awards and have a 30 or $40,000 a month. And it might not be because uh, we have any 5 stars making sales that we're getting overrides, but it may be because we're training a 5-star, right? And when we're trained 5 stars, it is nice because they are new, they are inexperienced, they have are ignorance on fire. They're going to new things, and then and it's easy to tell warm market, and it's easy to tell friends and family. And I think it's a very positive thing. But when we lose touch with our ICM, right? We haven't made a sale in a while, so we don't really know the comp plan anymore. We don't follow up on the changes or the improvements. Um, then we isolate ourselves from people that are doing it that way, that are also making money and doing both. And my experience is the majority of the people that I've seen have the most success, the fastest success, and the long lasting success follow the entire wealth cycle with Renatus, and they understand the comp plan. I have also truly seen people over the last 5 years that were extraordinary in both, um, that were quickly 5-star qualified, that made money after 5-star, that had started developing a team, eliminate themselves from Renatus. And I've seen their real estate deteriorate. I've seen them make I shouldn't say extraordinary. I've seen them make large mistakes. I've seen them find themselves in a position where they are doing it all on their own. Now they're still educated, they still have experience, but they've eliminated one of the greatest attributes, the greatest amenities, the greatest um, what's the word I'm looking for? Resources that Renatus has by stepping outside of that world. And I think it's unfortunate. And I definitely know it's not that everybody needs it. There's people that I know that have never been an ICM. They've gone and got the education. They've moved to Florida and they own a dozen properties. They buy condos, they do Airbnb and all that stuff. And those people are, again, they're not necessarily few and far between, but they had a purpose and a vision. The they didn't need the resources the community offers. They just needed the education to change um, their current profession, right? So anyway, just food for thought on the comp plan. I don't know if you have any comments on that. I don't mean that here's the thing is I don't mean, again, interrupt me. I think, um, I mean, if I could figure it out, which honestly I'm working on, to be honest, but if I could figure out how to monetize the comp plan, um, in my opinion, the way that it's done in other MLMs, and overseas, and not doing it overseas, but the way they do it overseas. If I can figure out how to monetize our comp plan, because as she said yesterday, it was pretty funny. She's brand new, kind of just listening to Michael. She's like, wow, it's the greatest comp plan she's ever seen. So clearly she's seen a few other comp plans in the industry, right? Um, so then I would spend time on it. And that's what I'm doing. And I would invest some money in it, and I would invest some time and some energy. And I've never really done that. I've always done it on an organic, slow, methodical, few and far between method. Hence, I have very little team, right? That produces additionally, right? I don't have a consistent paycheck from the marketing, right? And it's because of that. It's because um, because I haven't figured out how to right? You have to have, you have to pay, you have to find lead sources of people who want to do it. If we don't do that, and when I say this, I don't mean everybody. I don't mean, I don't, I don't, I don't mean 100%. I'm talking in my experience and from what I understand and what I've gone through myself and what most of the people that I've seen get 5-star, I've only 5-starred, I think 9 or 10 people. Not that I 5-starred them, they did on their own, but I mean that are under, that came in with me and went and got 5-starred. Not that I didn't do the work for them, trust me. Um, but regardless, I don't have a consistent paycheck of my direct sales, right? This is a direct sales business. It's not a multi-level marketing company. It's a direct sales network marketing company. There is a slight difference. And so it takes direct selling. And we tend to eliminate that once we get through. We don't go back to people we used to talk to, right? We keep, you know how many lists I kept? Thousands of people. Do you think I ever called on them? Michael Huggins actually does. he, right? And he actually trains to do it. And I ignore it. And and I don't. And they're in, I've never thrown them away. They're in, if I had to look right now, I think they're probably back in Phoenix, but they're in a folder somewhere, thousands of leads that never paid, never bought, and I never went back to them, right? There's no follow up. There was follow up when they came in, but I was beating myself on the head with a stick because I was trying to make somebody do something they were never going to do, right? Because they weren't a qualified lead, And then what's worse is I was training my own team to do the same thing, right? To bring in the same type of leads. And then we do one-on-ones together and I train them to work with people that are not in a position to resource a $25,000 investment. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with doing that because number one, you get the experience. You learn to tolerate, and you have a thick skin for rejection. You learn to have communication. You learn to lead. You learn to ask questions and question-based sell. You learn a lot of these things in that cold market, cold calling, cold door knocking experience. That's why door knocking is so effective and it's so efficient. It's so efficient. I'm sorry, it's so effective, but it's not efficient, right? It takes a lot of time. But I don't know if any of that makes sense. So it wasn't really
Well,
my
yeah,
training today. I just thought I'd bring that up. It was something. I don't know if anybody got any thoughts, comments, questions on that. It's good to see
something to
everybody.
give a little context about too is like Bill had already worked on himself before coming to the program. I had not. I was a turd, to say the least. I was negative. I was a complainer. I had a slight victim mentality. It was not attractive, right? It was so I had to go through 800. I went and counted. I went through 800 leads to make 5 sales. Okay, unnecessary, unnecessary. I could probably go through maybe 25 to 50 leads now to make 5 sales.
Yeah, could you imagine if you went through 800 sales right now again?
Oh, if I, you know what? Vanessa often reminds me that it would be nice if I went and talked to another 800 people. But man,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
yeah, let's hear it. Go ahead.
Bill, when you started marketing, you did, I guess, pretty well and got better. But when your marketing really took off and you got up, 600 grand in your marketing, at what point did you start working on yourself?
So,
Because it matters, doesn't it?
yeah, I mean, there's no question. I never thought it did. I thought it was originally kind of stupid. And then what's interesting, and it also, like I think Michael said that, or oh no, Matt and Mitch said that yesterday on Invest Edge about working with Woody, reading the dry book, helping their marriage. Um, my personal development did help our marriage as well. I probably could have dove in a little bit more. There was a lot of stuff I ignored. So I started right away after realizing that. when I came into what would be the old company of Renatus, when I met Bob Snyder, they did um, they did uh, sell and encourage personal development. Um, so throughout the from 2008 to it was like 2009 maybe, my wife and I went to this pretty big 3-day intensive event, and then we paid for extra leadership to be on the leadership team after that event. It was pretty life changing, and then and so we're a part of that for life, and then we joined a couple other. We've both done our own personal development since then, a few together. But um, it's kind of an ongoing thing, Joshua. I think what was, I don't know if I'm answering your question, like personal development and working on myself, um, I think is an ongoing thing, like I'm saying. Like you and I will tell you that both my wife and I, she runs a couple businesses that she started, and there's a lot of things that we pay for that we don't fulfill, we don't finish, or it doesn't work. Not that it doesn't work for someone else, but it didn't work for us. So not everything is like, oh, I'm gonna take Woody's class and I'm gonna be the best salesperson. I'm gonna improve my sales by 400%. You have to experiment, but you keep going. You learn things that you don't even realize you learn. But the good news is that you're confident that you are working on yourself, even though you might not be getting better, or you might not see it, or you might not feel it yet. You have the confidence that if someone were to say something, you'd be like, yeah, I'm also working on myself. You know what I mean? So when you have conversations with people, now I will say, when I started really making the money, and there was a time, like I said, in 2017, where I said to myself I was going to do marketing 50% of the time, which means I needed to start. There was a decision that was made. And so I had to show up at everything. I had to, be a leader. I wanted to speak in front of the room. I wanted to lead a team. I wanted to grow a team. I wanted to host property tours. So I couldn't have a 60-hour a week job flipping houses and a 60-hour a week job doing marketing or whatever it was, right? So I had to dial back a little bit the real estate. I had to cut my own income in order to improve my income later on in the marketing. But what happened was I would get bigger, better deals coming out of all that marketing. So I actually could do more deals and make less deals and make just as much or more money and have more time by doing the marketing, because I was now having more relationships. So there was a time when I made a decision that that's what I was going to do. And that's when I went, I hadn't done marketing for 6 years. I dropped out in 2011 and I came back in 2017. And I think it went from 29,000 to 72,000 to 110,000 to 155,000 in 4 straight years. I was doubling every time, building a team, and then it was like another 125,000, and then COVID hit, and that was only like an $80,000 year. But there was that 5 or 6 year period where I made 500 grand, and then I had made about 100,000 in the time before, from 2011 to 2017. Yeah. So I don't know if that really answered, Josh, but it's definitely a constant thing. And I think there are times when we get complacent. Think good things happen to us through Renatus. We have some success. We get 5-starred. We reach a pinnacle. We reach a goal, and we accept that. Like that's the bar, and we don't raise it. And we get complacent, and we get tired. We're like, I don't want to work that hard again. Like Michael just said, Vanessa's like, when's the last time you talked to 800 people? And Michael probably looks back and go, oh my God, I had toothpicks holding up my eyes. I don't want to do that again. So we tend to just not, but when we go back into self-development, when we listen to inspiring people, when we take up a Jordan Belfort class, or we take a Grant Cardone class, even 10 years after we started in Renatus, we get re-inspired. We get it's kind of like going to the gym again. You're like, wow, I feel better about myself. I don't want to eat as badly anymore. I don't want to drink soda. And you start to judge people what they're eating and drinking, because that's what you were doing. Now you're like, well, why don't, now you're going to the gym and you feel it, or you're playing a sport, or, you're working on your relationship. So you're holding the door more often like you used to when you first started dating. And then you see guys just walk straight to their car, their girls carrying all the packages and they don't even go get the door. Right. And you're like, that's just rude. And so, you know what I mean? You start to realize some of the things you did when we re-engage in those things. And then all the other things around our own selves start to come back to the way we were. But we do tend to, we get closer to retirement, we get closer to success, we get closer to, now we've got children, or now we've got a wife or a husband or a significant other, and now we've got a new house, so I got to work on that. And so we allow those things to interfere. Like it used to be, the things that would interfere with us are our own mindset, our own negative attitude, right? These were little things, like they were major things, but Michael would dress the part. Not only was he negative, but he looked negative. I mean, he didn't even think it was necessary to have a car. He didn't think it was necessary for him to support himself or his girlfriend, right? Those were his actual beliefs, because that's exactly what he was doing. So not only did he speak them out loudly, he actually showed everybody that's exactly who he was. And we tend to do that even in the future after we've had success and we tend to let those things go, because looking back, they're hard to get there. They're hard to, there's a lot of work. I remember when I was caught up on taxes, and I look back and I'm like, well, that was a lot of work to get caught up on my taxes. So what am I, 2 years back again on my taxes? Now it's a major issue again. It's just it's not rude. These guys are just yeah. So yeah, I think that it's okay. But we used to, I know what I was saying, we used to allow whatever it was, the negative beliefs, those anything to be an excuse, right? And then that was okay. We didn't really know any better. Now that we know better, right? Now that we've gone through some personal, we've gone through Renatus, we've studied some classes, we've listened to some of the amazing people on teaching a class. We listen to Bob Snyder, right? And there's no excuses. And then we have a new house, or we have new children, or we have this, I'm gonna be out of the country. I'm gonna be doing this. I'm growing. I'm expanding. And so those are the reasons we stop doing the things that really got us to where we are. In fact, we actually regress a little bit. It's natural. It's something, unfortunately, I don't think stays with us, unless somehow, some way, like the majority of people that are extremely wealthy and have, they have a cash flowing business, that we created something that works when we don't work. We bought into something, we bought a stock or we bought a startup, or we created a startup. Something happened along the way that, we can stop doing what we're doing, and we make more money with, real estate is not that when you have 15 properties. It's probably that when you have almost 65, like Steve Namora. That's a level that I'm not familiar with. I think I don't know how he finds the time to balance the way he does. I think he's an extremely intelligent individual. And if I were to compare myself to him, I would probably quit, right? And it's funny, we've almost done the same amount of deals, plus or minus a few, but he's been able to capture and hold three times the amount of property I own. Now, fortunately for me, I own property in places where, I have significant equity, right? And I have significant growth in equity, and the markets are probably never going to, and the types of properties I have, they're knock on wood, they may go down a little bit here and there, but I will sell them when the markets are up, the equity is up. I was talking about it yesterday on Invest Edge. It's so funny. We don't think about this. Like, this statistic to me is unbelievable. A house that we bought in 2025, I'm sorry, in 2002, 2003, 2001, for $229,000, today has $339,000 of equity. So it's worth almost $600,000 on average across the nation. But at one point, that $225,000 house, after it spiked up to $500,000 in 2007, went down to $125,000 house for nearly a decade, right? Nearly 8 years. 2008 to 2015 spiked up in some markets. And 2013, there was some larger 40%, 30% gross. 2013 dropped in 14, up in 15 again, dropped, went steady 16, 17, and then COVID hit. Now, again, a 15 to 20-year period, which is the average time, not the average we hold a house. It's usually 7 years based on divorce and family growth and downsizing, things like that. But these are people who kept their houses because honestly, for most of the time, they couldn't sell it for anything more. But now, right? So, I have a dozen, 10 of those houses, right? That we have that, and by the time we're ready to sell half of them, they should be worth 3 times that equity instead of just twice the equity, right? So it's not too late to be buying a house today if you intend to, even if you just make it break even, right? Now, you don't want to buy it necessarily in Illinois where there's no appreciation, or anywhere in the Midwest for that. There you want to, if you're going to buy a house, hopefully it cash flows, right? Hopefully you buy it like Steve did creatively and you're able to refinance it after you fix it. And he does almost an entire Burr method on almost every property, right? And then he sells it on owner financing and he creates a cash flow machine. And so if one doesn't sell, one person doesn't opt in and execute their option, he has to evict. These things all happen in his interim, but he doesn't stress because he's got enough to cover the rest, right? He expects a 15%, poor decision making, bad tenant type housing. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I don't remember what I was saying.
Speaking of your properties with equity, give us a quick update, oversight. How's those projects going? I know you're building some stuff. I know you've got plenty of other rentals that have stabilized, so not so much updates on those. But what about your building stuff? What's the next hurdle you got to overcome?
Well, I'm starting 2 projects. One is a new construction from ground up, and the other one is two, but it's a sixplex that I own. The property I've had for 6, 7 years, and it's a double lot. I've known it for a while. I paid for plans 3 years ago, and I finally finished paying for the plans and decided I'm going to build it now. So I'm building 6 units. The building itself is probably worth, the 3 units that are on there now is a house and 2 apartments, and it's got a carport garage. I use it for storage. It's pretty good cash flow. It's a good building. I mean, my rents are like 4,500 a month in those 3 units. But and one's a 1-1 and the other one's a 2-1, and one's an unupdated 1950s house that gets 2150 a month. So, but it should take the value from 900 to 1.9 is my guess, right? Or 2 plus. Um, Interestingly enough, I have a house I've owned for almost 4 years. It was a tear down I did. I should have made $1 million on it. I'll be lucky if I make $1 on it. I've owned it for 4 years. I had to sue my contractor, which I've had for 8 years. It's um, a significant lawsuit that has cost me tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars. Um, I have had to put $100,000 additionally into redoing a lot of the work. I've changed the entire design of the house based on the errors that were made. It's been the worst possible scenario for a construction property that is probably, I've had to pay for it. I've had to borrow money from my private money lender to finish. I've had to negotiate with my lender to defer payments. I've had conversations. I'm now working with my lender to finish the property, which, by the way, study the negotiations, communicate with the IRS, communicate with anybody and everybody you're in business with. You'd be surprised what people are willing to do to protect themselves and work with people. For the most part, the last thing they want is to take this place back and build it themselves. Um, and if it wasn't for my investor, I would have let it go 2 years ago. But I don't want him to lose his money. I don't want to owe him money. I think I can get enough money out of it. The $1 million will go right to him and pay him his interest. His is deferred as well. So At the very least, I may owe him a few bucks, and then we'll put it rolling into the next new construction. Um, but it doesn't matter how seasoned you are. That, to my knowledge, I don't know. You know, this is pretty rare. You know, I thought, you know, I knew what I was doing. I would have never expected it. I had a lot of trust in him, and so I gave him a lot of leeway. I listened to him for a long time, allowing him to try to make it up. You know, I understood that he couldn't go out and, you know, repay for the cabinets that I already paid for, and they were $70,000 custom cabinets. So he was really trying to get the guy that didn't finish the cat. Who knows? I think there was a lot of misappropriation of funds that I gave him. You know, I probably didn't put my foot down. It's kind of like keeping a tenant in your property over past due a month. You know what I mean? And you should probably give them the 5-day notice. Instead, you work with them, and sometimes it shoots you in the foot. Um, but yeah, I mean, anything and everything that could have gone wrong with this property has gone wrong. So it's tough. It takes a lot of my time. Um, you know, most of the time an alligator eats your legs, you know, maybe up to your knees, eats your feet. This thing's like up above my waist, into my intestines and up to my heart. Uh, that's how bad it is. Like I'm
Jeez.
I'm almost dead. I'm almost entirely in the alligator's mouth. Yep.
All right. Well, I think you're supposed to poke it in the eye now. And wow.
You know, the good news is, like I said, is I bought it right. Um, you know, this is a house, you guys and girls, I bought for 475 grand. I'm gonna sell it for 2.6 to $3 million. You can do some math there. So if you really want to have a good business, I would make money in the marketing and I would lend it to hard money lenders, or I would become a hard money lender. What's even better is I would become a second mortgage lender. But you got to know what you're doing. There's high risk. You got to be willing to foreclose. You got to have a good attorney. But that's my next thing. I really want to. I have a friend of mine that's been a loan shark for I don't know how long. He does loans right now, given the market environment on new construction, you know, I want to say luxury new construction, and commercial mixed use stuff in the Paradise Valley area, Scottsdale, upper end, Phoenix territory areas. He'll do second mortgages for guys that ran out of money, can't finish their project, and need 200 grand, 300 grand, you know, 500 grand, and he'll lend at 10% a month, a month. 10% a month is 120% a year. And you don't miss a payment. You miss a payment, he'll take the house, right? But he's going in at maybe 70 cents on the dollar, right? Because like me, without my second mortgage, if I'd have done it, I would have still had $1 million of equity in the property, right? So it's kind of a long story with the second. But I could have gone in there and been like, hey, I can't finish. I need 200 grand. I'd have to pay, you know, he would be able to foreclose, get all his money back, and walk out happy. How do you keep going when that happens? How do you keep working when you feel like you're working for free? Um, well, I truly believe. So the only reason, so in my opinion, um, this is a good question. It's a good, I guess it depends, first of all. You may want to consider, when we do certain things, when we take certain risks, um, consider, you know, worst case scenarios and put yourself in a position where, you know, my entities, the ones that I have that I operate in, don't really own anything, right? They have they have trains. I can't think of the word. They have see-through money. They have money that comes and goes, right? And then it trickles out of there, right? The minute there's a profit in the account, it's into my own account through draw, through paychecks, and or transferred out or reinvested. So the it's not it's it it may be worth it to consider running riskier jobs through an entity that you can bankrupt. Number one, right? The reason I didn't bankrupt this entity is that a friend of mine lent me the second money, someone I've known a long time. So I want him to get his money back, even if I don't get him all his interest back. I can negotiate the interest with him. I can roll it into something else. So number one is that's number one. That's what keeps me going, right? Um, it is hard to work for free. Fortunately, I have other things that I do, right? I do have the marketing, I do have rental portfolio, and I do more than one project at a time. So I also started a couple businesses that I focus on. And so I know that I can recover, right? So if I work on the alligator and I lose my ass, which I have, right? I mean, I don't even know how to, I mean, how do you, I mean, literally, like imagine, folks. I mean, like 2 years ago, this house was 70% done. Like the cabinets were going in, the doors were on, everything was paid for. Like it was, I had my painter's line. It was fine. Like, and then it just, and for a year, I let it all go, right? So, what was I gonna say? Like I bought this house for 475. Even if I sold it 2 years ago, if I would have got done on time, I was thinking at the time I'd sell it for about 600 a foot. It's 4,000 square feet. It's 2.8 million. $200,000. I mean, it would have been so how, like I'm not only working for free, I'm working for a loss of a 500,000 plus, right? But that's part of what we do. I mean, if I don't, if when I have a personal coach, I have two, and I've had one of them for, I don't know. I want to say I've been working with her for 6 years. And, and I will tell you that if she hasn't said it 1,000 times, I would be shocked, but she says, at least you're not on the couch. She's like, a lot of my clients, I have to get them off the couch. I have to inspire them to leave the house. Not that they're schizophrenic or whatever the term would be, they're just, they can't get past themselves, right? I'm, because of Renatus, because of this community, because of, just my own personality, we are risk takers. We took a risk in investing 25 grand in ourselves in something we had no idea would even, would work. When most of us didn't have an extra 25 grand, or we didn't have the time to execute on the 25 grand, right? Maybe some of you, a lot of the people you enrolled had the money and the resources, but they didn't have the time. They had a job, they had a family and all that stuff. So they invested it, hoping they'd eventually do it. You get it. So I guess, Tim, the best thing is, and then I'll get to that next one, Steve, is, I think that this is what we do. This is what I do. What are my alternatives? Get a job? Quit real estate? No. Um, work for somebody else, file bankruptcy entirely and then, have to deal with all that. And, like the alternatives are not that much fun and not not interesting to me at all. Uh, and then I can learn from the experience and I know that I can do it all over again in pretty much any major market, right? I have the education where I can go choose any other class in the company that I want to study. I know I can buy another house. I know I can sell an asset. I know I can do all these things. Um, I don't want to discourage you from new construction, anybody. You guys, there's literally nothing better. I mean, like this has nothing to do with this can happen in anything. It's literally my own fault. The deal is exactly what I teach. It's one of my favorite deals I've ever done. I love the house. I had a guy walk it the other day. It's not even on the market yet, and just in love with it. All right. Which phase the project took you the wrong turn looking back? How could you have mitigated some of these bad turns? Um, I gave the contractor too much leeway and too much money. And when I set the deadline for something to be done and ready and product to be in, it didn't come then that's when, if I'd have given him 35 grand instead of 70,000 for the cabinets, I could have recovered a little quicker, right? I also had a lot of trust in him, and I treated it like a friendship. We had a lot of we were going to build the 79 units. He found a lot. We were in bed together pretty deep, and I probably should, and that kept me going, right? I didn't. We owned two lots together that we were going to develop on, and he found the lots, but he didn't know how to. And he's actually a Renatus holder through me. I don't think he's ever watched a single class, to be honest. Um, that would, if I had to guess, that would be my guess. Maybe his wife did. Um, so I probably paid too much up front, and I definitely gave him too many. We tried to move forward on other things. So one of the things I let him do was install the hardwood floors, right? I brought the hardwood floors in. They got acclimated to the house. It was in last 2 summers ago, and then the problem was there was so much work that needed to be done. He didn't cover the floors. So I'd be gone. I wouldn't check on the house. I was, whatever it was. And I kind of noticed, and then I'd say, hey, what's the deal with this? Oh, no, we're going to take care of that. Oh, no, don't worry. We got extra boards. You know, I'm like, hey, I went ahead and put some cover down. I had one of my handyman do it. It got ripped up. By the time it was too late, the floors were terrible. They were so scratched up. It would have cost $8 a foot to refinish these hardwood floors. I mean, they were $8 a square foot floors. So at that point, I had to fire him, and then I gave him every opportunity to make up for it, and then I went to my attorney. Um, Knock on wood. I mean, there's no question. He's in a lot of trouble. But that's it. You got to stick to your guns. You've got to stick to the plan. You've got to pay people in stages. On every aspect. If it's paint, if it's one guy coming over to do a $500 job, you don't give him $500, right? You give him 250, or you give him in thirds, 150, 150. You hold back, give him 400 out of the 500, and you wait for the final inspection for the $50. Would having an extra layer, yes, you could do that. You could definitely have an extra layer. Like, if you really, depending on your personality, right? I don't look for someone to do a video. I do a lot of it myself. A lot of my guys, Cody Sperber, some of my friends, they got guys they pay $2,000 a month on a project. They go in there, they send pictures, and then you okay it, and then they go back and then they pay the guys in stages, right? So halfway through, whenever they need another draw, everybody needs draws, then I like to move a little quicker. I like to have a little more control. Sometimes it bites me in the ass, and I'm proud. And again, there's no trust. I guarantee Cody Spur, I don't even think he does a deal anymore. He might, I don't know what, he's a wholesale guru, thousands of wholesale transactions, but he's an educator guru more than he is a flipper anymore. But I know he still cashes checks. I don't really know. But he owns a company called Green Elephant with a couple other guys. They compete with me all the time. They build new construction, beautiful freaking houses. I don't ever see him at his house. I drive by him all the time. Cody Sperber is not sitting outside the house talking to his contractors, right? He's got other people. So, like anything, if you truly take it as a business that you want to operate as a business and not be stuck in the business, like we're actually taught, then you should consider that as part of your expenses when you go into the project, right? Is having project management, setting an expectation of what they're going to do and how you're going to sign off on things, and what their job is and what their pay is, and incentivizing them with bonuses, and then they can incentivize the contractors for bonuses and things. But that's a business plan. That's a business model. Get AI, get a college student to write you a fix and flip new construction business plan, right? I remember I had to write a business plan to buy out my partners at Played Against Sports, and I absolutely dreaded it. I hated it. I actually did go to San Diego State, and I got a young student that is in business, and they were in the business school, getting their MBA, and I had them write me a damn business plan. based on what I was, I would meet with them once a week until we got it done because I had to borrow multiple six figures from SBA to buy out my partners. And it was amazing. SBA is a great loan. I would recommend it to anybody for any business. But I mean, you got to give them your left leg, your right arm, and possibly a child. It's a lot of work. And your business plan needs to be concrete, and then that's what it's for. So you can follow it. And I'd rather, my mind, I don't like business plans. So I skip that part and it's not a good idea. Right. So yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. I think having an extra layer of project management, having a business plan, even it's as simple as a new construction and a fix and flip is, one of my buddies that what actually never bought Renatus. I tried selling it to him 100,000 times, but I bought a house for him at auction. He put together the project and he hired me to do it with all my guys because I could get it done cheap. He had a board. He brought a board over there. He had when stuff was going to get done. He had crossed it all. I mean, like he was strategic. He was what's the word? Like an engineer, right? He had all the things lined up, and so that's another way to do it where people see what needs to be done when they know what projects are, they know who was check in like so that way if something's broken, something's stolen, something's missing, some door didn't get locked, some sort of cleanup didn't get done, and stuff was left there, you knew who was there that day, right? I was driving by one of the fix and flips or the new constructions. I just love new construction, you guys. I'm telling you, drive your neighborhood and go see what people are doing. I get the cheapest fence. The thing falls down. I got to go set it back up, right? Because I don't want to pay $120 a month for a fence for 2 years, right? These guys are now putting those blue AI lights or whatever, like you see in Walmart, right? They're putting them on. It makes total sense. I got these cameras that I thought were cheap, right? I thought were a good buy. Well, the internet to get on there, because you don't have internet in new construction, like I had to pay for this support, that satellite internet to the it ended up, I'm like, and then they wouldn't work half the time, so I couldn't really see. And then my guys would work around and then they break them, you know what I mean? Like just you get what you pay for in this world. So, luckily most of the time I'm right by my properties and I know my guys, but that doesn't necessarily make it better. The guys they're not loyal to you and girls. They don't care about you. They care about feeding their family, getting paid, drinking, having work, paycheck to paycheck. They're never going to be out. They're never going to be out of that cycle ever. And unless they quit their field of work. And even general contractors, the majority of them are not business owners. The majority of them didn't even work on the dam. They just got their general contract and they probably scammed it. They probably got someone to sign off on the studying that they did, um, you know, during the time that you're supposed to have your 400 hours. They probably got someone else's license to sign off on it because they knew them. And they were probably using that license to begin with. Some of the guys that build their own houses, and they have a construction company, are the opposite. They're actually a business owner, and but you can't have those guys build it because you'll never make any money. They're going to make all the money. So it's a fine line. You know what I mean? That's why the classes, I think, when you combine fix and flip, you combine new construction. Now that we have that class, you combine it with rehab, the rehab class. There's 2 days of it. What's it called, Michael? We got 2 days of fix and flip and 2 days of rehab, right? Was it called rehab or is it
Yeah.
yeah. And then now we have new construction and we even have land development. So you could put and then we have hard money, private money, understanding private partnerships, right? All of these classes are significant when we're doing the deal. But yeah, good question, Steve. I think you're right on the money there. Or you become that project man. You spend the time. If I thought about it and I spent the time there, I probably would have been making $500 an hour as a project manager because I would have made a ton of money and I would have been there every day. But instead, I was building, doing 3 projects, flying around, working on new businesses, and I was expecting it to run a little bit more on its own. And I trusted a lot in the general contractor to do what I didn't want to do or that I wasn't doing.
a lifetime of experience in 2 years.
Well, now hopefully, people can watch my class and then have a conversation with me and you know, this should never happen to anybody. Is it going to happen to somebody? Yeah. Does it happen quite often? I think people take money all the time. I think people get, they're given large sums of money, general contractors that don't know how to manage the money. They think it's all going to be that way for a while. So, Doug Cook, you are awesome. Dude, I love you, brother. Can you make a class up on ground? Fortunately, that's the only one. Like I shouldn't say that's the only one, but I've been very fortunate with the outcomes of my last 5 years of ground up, and my houses that I've done additions on that are similar to ground up, where I've taken them down to 2 walls and essentially built them from the ground up, but got a fix and flip permit, a remodel permit versus a ground up permit. And then, but I've been fortunate on the success of those but I bought them right, and and I do put a lot of time into them. I'm there, I'm doing most of the work myself, but I probably could add this one alone. I could probably share with you a significant amount of mistakes. There's one of them, for example, that was irreversible. The this house was a mid-century modern twist to a modern house, right? So it wasn't mid-century, but it had mid-century modern flair. Part of it was exposed brick on 7 walls inside and out. It's a 2-story. I built it to experience the indoor-outdoor living of Arizona, because 9 months out of the year, it's pretty phenomenal as far as exposed. So there's 8 sliding glass doors in this house. I was out of town when they not when they framed the house, but when they built the concrete walls, and that's the structure of the house. And it was a specific brick that was called for in the plan, and I swear to God, they used a Home Depot brick. They maybe had brick at their house. I didn't catch it. So by the time I came back, all the trusses were on. The next time I looked, they were already on top of the walls. And it was extremely noticeable. They actually made a pattern with the bricks that didn't match, and it was on several walls. And I was like, you guys, this doesn't look right. I asked my general contractor who hired the sub that did the wall, and he's like, no, we're gonna fix it. And the thing was dirty. There was glue all over it, and I called a guy, and he's like, well, when you compress concrete, it bleeds. And I'm like, yeah, it looks like there's oil coming out. I didn't get it, but I trust. So I didn't trust my instinct, and I wasn't there. I should have been there before the trusses and all the sticks went on top of the brick, and I could have made them redo the brick at the time. But by the time I caught it, it was too late. I would have had to tear the whole house down, and the guy probably couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford it. So I kept hoping that he was going to fix it, and at the end of the day, he never had to fix it. So finally, I had the brick. I use a company that sandblasts it, but it's not sand to get every. It's a foam blast. I can't remember the name of it, but it's super clean. So you don't get it all over, but it's a little bit more expensive, and it cleaned up the brick and everything. But it it didn't match the house. I mean, you can't get past it. So I had to tile 800 square feet of 7 walls. In fact, I didn't want to pay for it in the garage. So I left the garage and I painted the garage a gray brick color in order to get away from this horrible exposed brick. So I don't even know why I was telling you guys that story, but I can't remember why I started telling you that. Can you make
along the way? Go ahead, Tim.
No, I'm just gonna say probably because we've all done that, where like you notice the mistake and you don't say anything about it. You let it keep going and keep going and keep going. It just kind of like eats inside of you, and like you're hoping somebody, but you don't do communication, and like and then all of a sudden hurt you at the very end, and you wish you would have did something about it at the very beginning. So it's like, how do you fix a mistake along the way, and how do you get the person on it? Because there's a lot involved. I feel it all the freaking time, every day. You're like working with people, and they're like, "Ah, that's not done right. Why isn't he doing it?" And you're afraid to call them out on it, because then they walk away, and then you feel like, well, walking away is going to cost you more money than it is going to, than it does having just living with it or something. Is it? Am I kind of Does that kind of make sense?
It's dead on. And we got it. We would never tolerate that in any other, like your cleaners wouldn't come to your house and then there's poop stains on the toilet. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm done with the bathroom. You're like, well, look at this. You didn't do the toilet. You know what I mean? You would never tolerate it. You wouldn't be like, oh, let me just pay you anyway. You know what I mean? But you pay your cleaners at the end. You know what I'm saying? You pay them when they're done. You pay everybody when they're done. Everybody else works for 2 weeks for free and then they get paid, right? You don't get paid up front. So it's an interesting dynamic. You got to stick to your guns. And, I'll tell you, there was a time I was building another house. We made $1 million on this house. And Sherry came in and she noticed the kitchen was off. I'm like, no. I'm like, these guys know what they're doing. She was adamant. She's like, that pantry is wrong. And it was a 7x7. And I measured it was 5x3. And then I'm like, wait a minute. She's like, look, she's like, the door doesn't go here. I'm like, it has to go there. I mean, I was arguing with her. Like I was like yelling at her. And I'm like, these guys know what they're doing. They're not going to, and sure enough, they were completely wrong. She was 100% right on multiple. One time my guys, I think they put in the fucking door, excuse me, they put in the door handles at like 44 inches. And Sherry noticed it. And I'm like, no. And I was thinking to myself, that's such a pain in the ass if it's actually true. So, I talked to the contractor about it. I think she was there with me and we were asking him. He's like, no, that's standard. You can probably put them everywhere. So I look it up and I'm like, no, it's 48 inches. You know what I mean? Or whatever the heck it is. It was 4 inches off. They had to redo every single door. She was 100% right. And I was like, no, first I'm thinking, I don't want to pay, I wouldn't have obviously had to pay for that, but now they got to fix the door. You know what I mean? They got to, oh, it wasn't the door handles. It was the light switches. They got to pull them out, move it up inside the wall, patch the wall. And then it's a 95.5 smooth texture. So it's extremely hard to match that and float it and then paint it again. So a lot of times you got to paint the whole wall because you can notice these imperfections. And sure enough, I could still see them. You know what I mean? And I knew it, but it was so bad. She was totally right. And I was talking about it. And yeah, you've got to, if it doesn't look right, you got to stick to your guns and make them change it. And you got to hold back, and it's funny. Yeah. Yep.
That's a very important point. It's there's definitely some like Chinese proverbs and stuff about this too, but essentially, yeah, you gotta rip the band-aid off faster. Just tell them it sucks, redo it. If they don't redo it, they're fired. If they, but that's the thing, is we don't just build our career and our portfolio off of one deal, right? Over your lifetime of doing this, you're going to do dozens, if not hundreds of deals. And some of them are going to teach you all the lessons.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, we've got to get away from, this is a 5-year plan. You know what I mean? This isn't it's not a 40-year plan. You started at 38 like me. I don't plan on doing this till I'm 78, right? But I'm 56. So it's only been 15, 16 years, right? And whatever that is. And so you can it be 5 to 7 years? Yeah. You know what I mean? Can is maybe you're whatever the case is, but it's nice because it's a realistic short time experience that can offer you the opportunity, especially in the beginning, where it can alleviate you from your position in life later on, not tomorrow necessarily, unless you've got the reserves. And then also, it's going to allow you to have an opportunity to make more money than you ever will at the position that you hold or the business that you own or whatever it is. Or it's going to allow you to keep that position and invest the money that you make at that position in your knowledge so that you control your retirement through real estate and other strategies that you decide. Maybe you start to pull some equity in real estate and put it in a Bitcoin or whatever the case is. And you control your destination, not a 401k with a company that is, managing your money, right? Because most of us don't make enough money that if they make mistakes and take fees, that we're going to still have several $1,000,000. My dad was hands-on, was every single month, multiple times a month, working with his financial planner. It was a job for him. He took control through the planner, if that makes sense. He constantly readjusted. And even so, when the crash happened in the stock market, right, he did not just have to sit on stuff because a lot of it went away, right? If you have the real estate and all you do is sit on it, it came back. Not only is it worth more now than '07, right? Right? Or not only did it come back, but it's worth more now than it was when we said the prices will never get higher than '07, right? And the same houses unfixed up are worth more now than they were in '07. So, but he had to go back to work, not that he quit his job yet, but he had to go back to work on his portfolio because he lost over a third of it. Like it was gone. He had to rework the whole system and knew, okay, if he becomes a little bit more aggressive and works a little bit harder on it while he's working 80 hours a week, then he can turn his portfolio around and get back to where he was in another dozen years. You know what I mean? Like it was that like he'd spent and he was there 46 years. So, in 2007, he'd been there for 30 something years in that '08 crash. So he was there for 30 years and built up that entire thing. It took him another dozen years just to get back the 40% he lost. Like it was crazy. So again, this is in my opinion, it's something that is, maybe a social influencer, maybe an OnlyFans page owner or something can make, really quick money, a lot of it. And I just don't know. It seems like we see those stories and so be it. But, there's 8 billion people in the world and we see stories of about 10. So the rest of us are not going to have that kind of luck. And we're not going to win the OnlyFans lottery or the Instagram lottery or whatever's out there. So we've got to do something that's a little bit more foolproof, is a little bit more opportunistic for the majority of the public, which is, the 95% of us. And we've got to turn around, and then it gives us an opportunity to have a little bit more, give a little bit more, make a little bit more, and retire with a little bit more based on our own investing and perhaps even, leave the career that we originally set out to do. Yeah, but I don't think it's, I don't, I'd have to really, I don't know anybody in Renatus, that was a 5-year millionaire. Not millionaire, but 5-year quit my job. I'm living the high life for the next 50 years. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's unrealistic. Something else to look at too is what they call volatility compression. So, over the decades, as the swing of real estate prices was doing this, each decade, the price volatility is actually getting lower and lower. So when some of these people are like, well, I'm just going to wait for the dip, I'm going to wait for a correction. It's like, okay, last time it was a 50% correction. The time before that was a 60. Then it's going to be a 40 and a 30. And then pretty soon it's just going to look like a blip. It's not going to be these huge drawdowns. And so some people that are like, well, I'll just wait maybe a year or two, it'll come down. And you're going to look at it and go, it just went up 15%. I could have had that 15%.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's too many factors to allow that. I mean, will there be another recession? Possibly, but maybe not in our lifetime. It's going to take us a few minutes to forget everything we did in for the 5 years leading up to '07, right? Where there was enough leeway that the greedy could do, and it wasn't even just the greedy, but I mean, it was all of us. I mean, it allowed the public to take advantage of all the opportunities in the market. I mean, it wasn't like, the loan officers and the banks were doing all the work. We were signing the documents. We were turning the blind eye to all the fraud. We were participating in the fraud. every single one, every single person was like, I'm gonna, oh my God, my house is worth that much. Yeah, give me $250,000 to go on the beach for a while. I'll buy a new truck. I mean, we were all doing it. It was free money. So it wasn't, eventually history will repeat itself and we'll forget and we'll go, the things will loosen up a little bit. But in the meantime, those dips you're talking about, they're a lot more controlled. There's a lot more growth and population. There's a lot less land. There's a lot less, expansion. We've already expanded just about everywhere we can go. We've got, so, and then now with all the different types of housing opportunities, um, we're living longer. There's too much demand to create that big, huge drop, right? Unless there's a financial cause, which, realistically, there was 1 in 29, 1 in 80 or whatever, you know what I mean? And that one wasn't even that bad compared to 29 or 08,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
SNL, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So, folks, when you're out there talking with people and they're like, oh, real estate's too high, I'm gonna wait for it to come down. Those days are gone. Sure, there'll be isolated corrections here and there, but the way that the FHA, the FAFHA, the Treasury secretaries, the way all these things have been orchestrated, they basically plugged all the holes so that the bottom doesn't drop out anymore, unless there's just a black swan event, I guess they would say. So encourage people to get in now. You guys are in the right place at the right time with the right teams, the right mindset. I mean, today's call was one of a warning, I guess, right? There's either uh, good examples or I was gonna say bad examples, but this is a good example of how it went bad, for all of us to learn from. And I want to applaud you, Bill, because it's not always easy to admit mistakes.
Yeah.
And that your willingness to come out here and be open and vulnerable so we can all share and learn and avoid those mistakes is huge. So thank you very much.
Yep. And one like all our coaches talk about, right? We can't, especially with social media, we can't assume and compare. We can't compare. When we do compare, we can't assume that everything is true and right and everything, all the facts are being, so, like I said, I don't know, yeah, they do, Deborah. You're absolutely right. I have a lot of friends and colleagues that, are divorced. I'm sure that their world, you can't sell a guru product and start talking about how poorly you've done a couple things, right? Right. So it's not what happens on social media and in a marketing effort, even if it's an organic marketing effort, right? You can show a little vulnerability, you can be a little real, but you're not going to sit there and tell someone to buy your class or join your group or whatever it is when you just lost 500,000, right? So I would suggest that you take everything you see for a grain of salt, and your story and your journey is going to be completely different. And I believe that everybody's journey is going to be filled with mistakes, setbacks, learning cases, and it's just a matter of, and we've all heard this, I'm not making this up, it's just a matter of getting back up, start,
Yep.
keep going, redoing it, doing it again, dusting off, whatever. So love you guys. Thanks, Joshua. Thanks everybody for the conversation and the interaction and the participation. And Michael, as always, thanks for the introduction and the opportunity to be here with you, man. It's an honor to sit next to you and do this deal with you all the time. It's badass.
Yes, sir. We're making a difference. All right, folks, go out there, share some great wisdom with the people that matter to you. Encourage them to try a little bit harder, get back up. And we'll see you in E3. 16 more days, folks.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys.
Bye.
Love you. Thanks, Steve. See you, everybody.